What's really interesting about Black Panther Wakanda Forever is that it's the first MCU movie in a very long time where the only movie you need to have seen to appreciate this one is the first Black Panther movie. That's right, it's a straight sequel, baby! And in many ways, that is just so refreshing, and also gives Black Panther Wakanda Forever a timeless feel. You know, back when sequels were just sequels and didn't need to plug in to this whole greater franchise, which I'm still a fan of, but this is very nice. And it doesn't feel like the next widget to roll off the MCU assembly line. You gotta work on that, Feige. You gotta work on that. What's also very refreshing about Black Panther Wakanda Forever is the very high stakes. Oh, there's a lot at stake. Not only does the death of Chadwick Boseman hang over the film, artfully so. Oh, I can't wait for you to see how they handle that. It's incredible. But Namor, and that's how they pronounce Namor in the film. But Namor and his people present a genuine, deadly threat. The way water is used as a weapon here, oh my goodness, I don't want to ruin it for you. Let's just say it was shown in slow motion, which was incredible. We have a lot to discuss in the spoiler review. That included, there is one mid-credit scene. But even though, and we have a lot to discuss, even though the movie hardly ties into the MCU at large, as I said in my first reaction video. And that's because the world building and character development for both Wakanda and Talokan, which is the name of Namor's kingdom, it's hard not to stop. I just got used to saying Namor. But anyway, it's so impressive. These worlds are both expanded rapidly, giving us plenty to discuss. Some of the choices with Talokan in particular caught me off guard. One choice in particular I love so much that I can't wait to discuss it with you. All right, so on that note, also, there are very high stakes for the entire world, not just these two kingdoms, but the entire world with vibranium. It's always about vibranium. One, you know, what a James Bond villain would covet if, you know, they were in the MCU, being a hotly debated and coveted natural resource. And that's all I'm going to say about vibranium, because then we'd be getting into spoiler territory. But it is, once again, central to the story. Is Black Panther Wakanda Forever a perfect movie? Some of you probably are rolling your eyes right now, being like, never any criticism from Marvel. Well, it's pretty darn close, but there are some flaws. One flaw, I have three flaws for you. Well, you know, kind of four, but anyway, one's the Midnight Angel armor, which I will briefly touch on later in this review, and then certainly in the spoiler review. But I would say that the third act drags. It drags a bit, and it succumbs to montage-itis. Welcome back, Montage Man, one of my favorite Robot Chicken sketches. But they have a task that they need to accomplish in the third act, but it just seems so impossible to accomplish it in the time that they have that the movie tries to sell it by doing it in a montage. It's like that's what the Robot Chicken sketch was about. Need to learn an entirely new language? Montage Man's here, you'll do it in 5 minutes. But so it's a little bit at that level of ridiculousness. So at least for me, the spell of the movie was temporarily broken, and I was like, that's silly. But then they pulled me back in with awesomeness. Also, Talokan, Namor's it's supposed to be, I don't want to tell you why it's pronounced that way. Namor's underwater kingdom, while it's not shot dry for wet like Aquaman was done so effectively. I mean, who cares if Aquaman did it first? It's amazing, that's how it should be shot. But here it seems that they actually stuck actors in a water tank. And that is not very effective because you don't get the feeling that anyone, even the characters that you're looking at, actually live down there. You're like, wow, this, when you watch Aquaman, you're like, what a cool kingdom. I love it down here. But here you're like, boy, you get a little nervous. You're like, how long can you hold your breath? Speaking of VFX, there are a few times, because they should have used VFX more for the underwater sequences, but there are a few times on land when you can tell they're using the volume. You're like, you're just standing in front of a green screen. Well, a very advanced green screen, thank you very much. There was one shot with Shuri in particular. You'll know it when you see it, when you're like, that's ridiculous. It almost was like an insert, and they're like, oh, here we are in Wakanda, like an SNL sketch. It was that silly. That was just one shot, and you'll know it when you see it. It was really silly. But then there are also a few shots on top of that giant warship where the scope of the movie fell short and the battle seemed too small for what it was. But that's good news, because that means on the flip side, for almost the entire film, the story does feel very grand, and Wakanda and its people is majestic and powerful as ever. It was great to go back to Wakanda. Loved it. All right, let's talk Shuri. And it's too bad that Letitia Wright has had some personal drama online, as her performance here is phenomenal. Of all the recent MCU heroines that have been introduced, and there have been a lot, she and Yelena are my favorites. And it's interesting because Shuri is the exact opposite of Yelena. Shuri is actually, quite touchingly, a lot like her brother. She shares a lot of the same qualities. Regal, reserved, compassionate, but also stern and quite shrewd. Very good, I think pretty good leader actually, or at least on her way to becoming one. Like T'Challa, she takes calculated risks and her still waters run deep. Good metaphor for this movie. Hearing her constantly referred to as princess creates a very different type of Disney princess. A bit like Leia, and I am here for it. With a very short haircut and thin wire frame, Wright cuts an androgynous figure, which helps put the focus on her more simply as a person than a female hero, and I really liked that as well. She also delivers, Wright, a stunning portrayal of someone wrestling with grief, yet still trying to move ahead as best she can. Oh, very moving performance. I really felt her pain through the screen. It was incredible. But that, I think, speaks to everyone. Because again, as I said in my first reaction video, the grief that they're dealing with is real because Chadwick Boseman tragically actually died. On the flip side, Tenoch Huerta brings Namor to life from the pages of Marvel Comics. And to see him move so powerfully in the sea, on the land, and in the air, he's got all the elements covered, baby, is thrilling indeed. Oh, he looks so cool. When he was fighting that ship, he flipped over the top of it. Oh my gosh, can't wait to see that again. We haven't seen a Marvel villain this good since Fox's Magneto, and just like Magneto, Namor kills in the name of protecting his people. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it right. There's a moment when he's showing Shuri around his kingdom and you're like, I can't wait for Sue Storm to get the tour, because of course their flirtation is so famous in the comics. Although I have to say, I felt a bit of a spark between him and Shuri. Although also I think Namor would have a spark with pretty much everyone, as he's very charismatic and he knows it. Another way that he is dangerous. He's got his flirt on. He's got his flirt on. And as I said in my first reaction video, this is a movie almost entirely of women. And besides Namor, who again is going up against all women, so at some points he feels a little bit like Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. There sometimes the movie takes on that quality, which is very interesting. But there's, M'Baku and Martin Freeman's Everett K. Ross are here, but they have very little to do and feel sidelined. I think at moments when you see how little those two characters have to do, you do feel that guys are sidelined a bit in this movie. And I think to have at least given M'Baku more to do would have helped to broaden, we'll see, I hope it still has broad appeal. But if it doesn't, the mistake was not giving M'Baku more to do. Because I think that would have helped with some male moviegoers who, unfortunately, but you have to be understanding a little bit, who with the absence of T'Challa might feel sidelined themselves. They might feel sidelined themselves, and giving M'Baku more to do would have headed that off at the pass. But wow, Angela Bassett, Denai Guerrera, and Dominique Thorne are all powerhouses, both of their incredible scenes and their strength of personality that burst through the screen. As I've been saying, Bassett has a genuine shot at an Oscar nom for her work here. And Okoye is as incredible as ever. So impressive, she's often called up by the Avengers. And once again, you see why. Her role here is also like everyone else's, but she has a very emotional role here. They really gave Denai Guerrera a lot to work with, and it was really good. She did a great job. Riri Williams has had trouble connecting with fans in the comics since the day she was introduced. But with Coogler and Thorne's version of the character, I feel much better about her upcoming Disney Plus show. I was like, and I'm a big Tony Stark fan, so I might be like, ooh, I miss Tony Stark, what's going on here? But I was like, you know what? I feel his legacy is in good hands with this version of Riri Williams. I liked it quite a bit. And it's great to add Michaela Cole to this film. She's a wonderful actress, but her role is quite small. It's very small. She's still, good to her credit though, she still is able to break through and make a strong impression. But unfortunately, her romance with Florence Kasumba's Io from the comics has been almost entirely cut out from the film, except another blink and you miss it kiss, but this time on the forehead. How are you even, in terms of queer baiting, this is a real problem for, Disney in particular, but how are they going backward when they have so little representation to begin with? You're like, you'd think the Star Wars thing was silly, but at least that was an actual romantic kiss. This is just, they should, I think, I'm curious, do you think they should have even bothered including it at all when it's so insulting? All right, we'll talk about the Midnight Angel armor in the spoiler review because some changes have been made to it and I don't want to spoil them. But I have mixed feelings about the Midnight Angel armor. I gotta tell you, right now, I'm not a fan. All right, as for Ryan Coogler, who once again directs and is the co-writer with Joe Robert Cole, who was the co-writer on the last movie too, Coogler does a wonderful job further expanding the world of Black Panther and Wakanda. And Talocan, he does a pretty good job with Talocan. I like Talocan. I wish they'd shot Dry for Wet. But not only does he further expand this world, but he anchors it as well. There aren't a lot of shots where I was like, that's an amazing shot. It's not one of those type of movies, but it's more that the entire package from top to bottom is just so tight and impressive. You're like, you're just like, damn, like, wow. Like production design, costume design, score, cinematography, acting, writing. It just all fits together so beautifully. It's just really impressive. There are solid action scenes throughout. I'll be honest, they could have been a bit better, but they're good. But Coogler and his team are able to make even the smallest scenes and details thrilling and exciting. You're like, oh wow, not that much is happening, but I'm so excited. Like for instance, just Namor coming out of the water on a quiet, serene African night is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a movie. I was like, wow. I want Coogler for Secret Wars, and I hear that Feige wants him for Secret Wars, but Coogler needs a little bit more convincing to take on such a big project. It would be a very big deal to do it, but I hope he says yes. I do feel that Coogler is up there with Destin Daniel Cretton in terms of the steadiest hands building out their respective corners of the MCU right now. I don't know how Wonder Man fits into Destin Daniel Cretton's corner, but I don't care. He's great. And with Cretton getting Kang Dynasty, it really only makes sense that Coogler would get the other half of that 1-2 punch, which is Secret Wars. All right, so that's enough talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Just go experience the movie. Just experience it. And don't forget to tweet me your picture for the Movie Math ticket montage if you'd like to participate. Instructions on how to participate are pinned to the top of the comment section down below. The deadline is midnight Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, November 12th. I know that's halfway through the weekend only, but I've got to edit Movie Math, so it goes up on Sunday. And be sure to come back here later this very week. It's Black Panther Wakanda Forever week for tons of spoiler coverage. Oh, we're going to have a real good time. All right, I hope nobody ruins this cool stuff for you because it's awesome. All right, be careful. Be careful in the comment section. Just be careful out there. All right, share those thoughts down below. Don't spoil it for people. This is the non-spoiler review. Be cool. Subscribe today so you don't miss any of that spoiler coverage. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.